And we are live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're joining Race Talk, the podcast with Karting Insiders. I am your host, Omar Aswat, and I'm delighted to be joined today by Allen Khoury. How are you, Alan?
Hey mate, how you doing?
Alan, what time is it in the UAE?
It is currently 1 p.m., so good afternoon.
And I think we caught you on a day where there's no races this week or this
Actually,
weekend.
actually, there are some races that are happening. There's a race happening in Dubai Kartdrome, which is the Rotex season race. So they got a round over there. So today are the heats. And AK Karting are actually at Al Fursan Abu Dhabi practicing for round 6 of the IAME. So the team's over there.
The work never stops, the practice never stops.
Never.
As you mentioned, you are the owner of AK Racing, which we're going to get
Correct.
into, a professional kart team based in the UAE. We have to ask all of our guests the age-old question: how did you start karting?
How did I start karting? Okay, it was quite a while ago. It was over 22, 23 years ago.
Hey,
So it started off in the Jabba Ali karting track, which is like a really old track, or one of the first tracks over here in the UAE. And started over there doing Rotex, actually, because that was only Rotex over here. And started in the Micro Max, and then did Mini Max. And then I stopped doing it because unfortunately I wasn't really focused in school. Was always sitting in the classroom drawing out the track map, lines and stuff. So didn't really do well. So my dad had to pull me out of racing. Obviously, education is very important. Wasn't really going towards like the professional side. I've had the talent. I had the talent. But yeah, education was more important for me.
well, that's an interesting point you bring up, because a lot of drivers say, "How do I convince my parents to go karting?" And tell them this is a career and all.
I'm
You,
actually quite surprised because there's a lot of kids nowadays, or a lot of parents that come up to me and they go, I want my kid to go to Formula One. Now that's another topic where it's like you need to be realistic.
yeah.
Yeah, because the percentages of people over here in the UAE, especially here in the UAE, it's very small to actually reach to that level because of the sort of, the championships over here, the driving level over here compared to Europe, and the racers in Europe, they do it every sort of weekend, and they put that as their main priority over like school or education.
Yeah, so they're just very much doing that full time,
Correct.
and school is something which they'll cater in around that.
Yeah.
That is a good point. I mean, I want to bring you back to, is it Jebel Ali you were saying?
Correct. Jabba Ali, yeah,
Does
karting
that
track.
still exist?
Actually, it does. It's still there.
Okay.
We don't do karting over there. It's now turned into a sort of like autocross / drifting circuit.
Okay.
Though it's such a beautiful track, but unfortunately, because there's no one that is willing to invest in, renovating it, because it's going to cost a lot.
Yeah.
So it's still there. Like, yeah.
And how was the setup there? Did they have rentals and then the two
Actually,
strokes, or was it
no,
just owner cards?
it was owner cards. It was
Owner cards, yeah.
pure owner cards. Back in the day, it was just driver, or a driver and parent, or driver alone mechanicking as well, or the parent mechanicking. There was
Yeah.
no sort of teams back in those days. So teams, I believe, started coming up when races started to happen in Dubai Kartdrome.
Uh-huh.
And when Dubai Kartdrome first opened up, there was still the whole parent and driver, or driver doing mechanic. And it was
Yeah.
more like a very close community. Then someone saw an opportunity to like, hey, I'm going to make a team. I'm going to make this a business or a service. And then that's how it started. And now you have teams all over.
Absolutely, absolutely. Before we get into the teams, there's a whole field of rental car drivers there.
Yeah.
Have you done any rental karting yourself?
Yes, I have. I've done SWF races. Well, when I came back from university, I obviously was not in the two-stroke scene because, teams are quite expensive, especially if you want the service and everything. So
Yep.
I was only able to afford from my own pocket to do four strokes, and was doing the SWS races. I've qualified quite well here in the UAE, top five, I believe, and was
Excellent.
offered the opportunity to go represent the UAE in the SWS finals in IKC in Paris and in Liliano in Italy. So I went to two world finals. I believe the most memorable one was the RKC one, where I qualified um, second in one of the heats, and actually finished the race in first, having my first like sort of international uh, win. I
Yeah.
think the gap was like about like 5 6 seconds. It was it was a
Impressive.
it was a good memory, and having my family and friends and colleagues all seeing it live on YouTube. So it was nice.
Was there a particular training routine you were following there for practice? Do you go every week and then?
Be honest,
Yeah.
in RKC, it was our first time. Well, my first time over there. I actually went for like 2 or 3 arrive and drives just to understand the track,
Mm,
and following drivers who are actually like know the track, so at least they can teach me where are
yeah.
the breaking points and so on, what are the lines. So then after that, it's all up to me. So didn't really have much time to learn, but when you're a racing driver or wherever you go and whatever track you go to, you need to learn quickly. It's this whole fundamental of these are the lines you go in and out, out and in. Um Position the car where to brake, push your limits, where to the braking points to actually know what is the right point to do it. And this is what I tell my drivers now as
Mm.
well.
No, very very well said about that. And you have to get up to speed quickly, otherwise you won't be competitive.
Exactly.
How was the transition then to owner karting? Because technically you started in Bambino, which is an owner kart, then you did rentals, then you went back into some owner
So yeah,
karts.
I didn't start in Bambino. It was more like Mini Max. So it's like
Yeah,
a stage above Bambino. In Rotex, you got Micromax, then Minimax, then Junior, Senior, and so on.
yeah,
So I stopped when I reached Minimax. Then I finished school and everything, and went to university. Came back, and then did four strokes. Um, you know, my family have a racing background. My father is actually a rally driver here in the UAE.
excellent.
He's been rallying since 1985.
Wow.
Yeah, with Sheikh Abdullah Al Qasmi. I don't know how many UAE championships he has. It's quite a lot. He's got maybe over 300 trophies at home. We don't even know where to put them. So, and he's still racing. So he's doing it as like actually he's racing today
Yeah,
somewhere next to Fujairah. And so yeah, like racing has always been in the family. So it never
yeah,
leaves
yeah,
you, even though that huge gap that I've had, it never
yeah,
left me. But obviously starting in four strokes, never have done four strokes. I was always like in the back, and then slowly started working my way to the front, and then having a person that I would like to reach to, like a target.
mm-hmm.
For example, Rami Azam, yeah, or his brother Ramiz Azam. They were always in the front. So it's just like, okay, I want to reach there where they are. And it came to a point that I remember it was like a Ramadan challenge, and we
Mm,
were actually there together, like fighting. So the progress was there, everything was good, but then, going to the world finals, everything, then I was like,
yeah,
you know, this is the farthest I can go with four strokes.
yeah,
And then that's when I said, you know what, I'm going to go into two strokes and I'm going to give it a try again. But
yeah,
then was doing it out of my own pocket. I didn't have any of my parents to back me up because it was quite expensive. Like it's a
yeah.
lot of money. I believe I've done it for like 2, 3 seasons, and yeah, it was nice. But then, the politics, the money, and that really put it a bit off for me.
Okay.
So then I actually stopped.
And was that Rotex or Ayami?
Ayami.
That was Ayami. All
Yeah.
the seasons, basically.
All the seasons I've been doing Ayami, I just have a preference for Ayami. I believe the engine is, yes, it is expensive to maintain,
Hmm.
but to me, it's like nothing against Rotex or anything. Like, they have their own way, they have their own engines, their own
Yeah.
championship. I just prefer Ayami. I enjoy the engine.
We got a good question over here from Plains on YouTube. He's saying, what would be more competitive, rental or owner karting competitions?
Definitely owner karting. If you can have the financial backup, it
Yeah.
is more of a learning curve than four-stroke karting. Four-stroke karting, again, you got two differences. You got four-stroke, you got two-stroke. Each of them have different driving styles. To me, four-stroke is more towards fitness.
Hmm.
It is sort of as also a foundation. A lot of kids, they do start in four-strokes, but then a lot of them now start to jump into two-strokes because they want to get more into the competitive scene.
And that's where your team comes into play. So
Correct.
you've done all this racing, from 4 strokes, couple of years in 2 strokes.
Yeah.
When did you establish AK Racing? When did the idea come about?
So actually, when I decided to stop racing in two strokes because of the whole financial burden and
Yeah.
politics, and when you're in a team that you have a number of drivers that are paying a big amount of money,
Yeah.
for sure the team is going to focus on those drivers. Yeah.
Mm.
And I've obviously seen it, like, I would be paying this much, another person would be paying that much. And I can see the team were focusing more on that driver because obviously maybe he was
Right.
more competitive, he was paying more. And then I was like, you know what? Nah, I'm going to stop this. Then I stopped it for quite a while. It was actually maybe around 5, 6 years,
Yeah.
just doing four strokes, doing the endurance championship, keeping my fitness, keeping still in the community of karting.
Yeah.
And learning. You never stop learning. You always learn new things, even if it wasn't four strokes. Then I got a call, which is from Sheikh Walid Al Qasmi,
Okay.
who is the owner of Rack Track and the main organizer over here of Ayami. He's a really good friend of mine, and he called me up and he was like, how would you like to start your own racing team? And
Okay.
I said, Sheikh, like, I don't have the financial backup, And he's like, don't worry about it. We'll work something out. You just start it, get the drivers,
Yeah.
and we take it from there. So we started meeting a lot, doing the business idea, the business concept, and the whole business idea and concept of AK Karting is about making it affordable
Yeah.
for people in four strokes or newcomers, beginners, to be in the most competitive part of racing here in the UAE.
Right.
So we tailored or made packages for people um, that would be suitable for them to join. And obviously, listen, if you want to be competitive, you got to pay.
Yeah.
We've started that foundation, and if we will, once we see a driver that has progressed and is actually doing really well, then we could speak to the driver or to the parent and say, listen, if you want your kid to go further and to compete, this is the steps that you need to take. And so going back, we started the team. I started marketing it. I'm quite well known over here in the karting scene and in the motorsports over here. And
Yeah.
I believe I am very transparent and a very honest person, and that plays a very big role. I don't treat this as a business. I treat this more of a passion. Because motorsports is in the family, and I've seen how, how it's like being in a team. and how to run it, but I want to do it in a different way. I wanted it to be more of a family.
Yeah.
So whatever level you are in AK, you you are part of this family. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter if you're starting from the back or if you're in the front or wherever. You're part of this family, and you are going to be treated as a family, not as a client, but as a family. And every driver in the team has an ownership within the team. They were the brand, they race for the team, they are part, they are owners of this team as well,
Wow.
in that sort of way. Um, so we started off with around 5 drivers in our first
Okay.
season.
Okay.
And then, as you can see here in the image that you've put up, this is on our second season, where we started establishing our liveries,
Mm-hmm.
our corporate look, the look of the team, and we grew from 5 drivers in our first season to 15 drivers in our second season because of the whole theory and the fundamentals and the background of what AK karting is as a family. And you can
Yeah.
see, like, we are all one big happy family. And even now in our third season, we're still on 14 drivers and we're going strong.
Excellent.
And people love the whole, yeah. So this is the picture of, the first team, the first season,
Mm-hmm.
and then that other picture that you shown, that was for our second season. Um, and yeah, over here you can see, like, how drivers and mechanics are together,
Yeah.
um, one big family, always smiling. So yeah, it's a beautiful team, man. Like, and I have amazing people working in the team. The mechanics are, the heart and soul of this team. Um, some of them even started not knowing, they don't even know how to speak English, but then they started learning
Amazing.
English,
Wow.
and now they actually can communicate to the parents, the drivers. And I have a great coaching staff as well.
Yeah.
I got my brother, Allen Khoury, who's also, he's not really into two-stroke. Like, he doesn't have this sort of like view on two-strokes. He's more in terms of four-strokes. So he has sort of a driver development that he's working on now,
Yeah.
from bringing people from four-strokes to two-strokes. So if he sees that there's a driver or two that are doing really well in four-strokes and they want to take it to the next step, then he sends him to me, to AK Karting.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got a fantastic coach in AK Karting. His name is Romaldo Lebroy. I think you've heard of
Yeah. Yeah.
him.
Yeah. Yeah. Veteran SWS driver.
Correct. And, Romaldo is
Amazing.
fantastic in four-strokes. And, he's sort of in the same sort of boat that I was in. Like, we don't have the financial backup to be in two-strokes. So then, because my gut feeling was this guy can give a lot to AK karting, and he has.
Yeah.
He has produced some really good drivers for AK. Like, we are actually competing in the junior championship this season.
Yeah.
And all thanks to Romaldo, and even our senior drivers are doing really well. We're not competing in the championship for senior, like, it's close, but we know that we cannot beat the likes of the big legendary XL racing team.
Mm.
Like, they got a fantastic team. They're very professional. They got some great drivers as well, but we're there.
Yeah.
And there's an image I believe I shared with you that 2 rounds ago, we have a driver of ours called Nathan Pope,
Mm-hmm.
who has won in the Charger round in Miami, had a clean sweep, qualified P1, finished heat P1, pre-final P1, final P1. And yeah, there you go. And
Super.
that's
That's
the
him.
money, that's the money shot,
Yeah.
where it was just a fantastic, weekend. Um, all thanks to Romaldo, all thanks to the mechanics, setup wise, Romaldo being in the heads of the drivers, getting them focused. And, you got to build the teams like this to have people that you trust, and that
True.
you know that they will put their 100% in the team. and there you go. It's growing. It's
Yeah.
growing, and it's going to keep growing. We're going to always be here. A lot of people had doubts in our first season,
Mm-hmm.
saying, or in our second season, saying AK Karting will not be here for the third season. AK Karting will never win a race. AK Karting will never be on the podium.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the best way to silence the people. And nowadays, people also call us cheaters.
Yeah, yeah.
They go,
Wow.
yeah, yeah, like like
It's turned from
yeah, man.
the tables have turned.
But mate,
No, no, no.
that's the fuel of it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the success.
Absolutely.
And I love it when people talk about us because
Mm-hmm.
then that means we're doing something right.
We got a really good question from Plains again. He's asking, if you want to pay more, what does it go to slash do for you? Could it work out if you pay lower but you have a higher level of skill? Not for AK obviously, but other teams.
Look, I have drivers in the team where they are still also paying the minimum budget of what the team, the package.
Mm,
We do believe that we have driver development is more important than what you pay for, because you can have a driver who is really good but have a very standard setup that can fight in the middle.
mm,
When we say that extra cost of paying, it's in terms of sending your engines to Europe, getting them set up and ready in a legal way, not illegal. Yeah. And that gives you around 2/10. And what is 2/10?
mm.
Yeah. But you need the driver that can actually produce that 2/10.
Yeah.
If you're going to have a driver who's not developed or who doesn't know how to drive, and you give him the equipment, that's not going to help. That he's not going to produce that 2/10. He might even actually go slower.
Mm.
And we've actually tested that. We've tested drivers who can be on the stock engine, and we give him a you know better better engine. He actually went slower on the better engine than being on the stock engine.
Okay.
And it's just, you know the driver needs to develop.
Yeah.
you know it's you can't give someone a Ferrari or a supercar and go tell him to go in that sort of speed in the corner when he doesn't know how to handle the speed. He doesn't know
Yeah.
how to handle it. So it's the same thing.
And speaking of development, you obviously have a season plan. How
Yeah.
does the season look in UAE for Miami that you're doing?
In terms of what?
The races, and then
Mm.
if you have training sessions as you plot in between rounds, and
You
just
see,
just the whole season itself as a driver's point of view.
because we only do Miami, we
Yeah.
don't do two championships. We get a lot of practice. So now, for
Yeah.
example, our next race is in Fursan, Abu Dhabi, which is happening in 2 weeks. So we got our team already over there in Fursan ever since Thursday. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Mm.
So the team are there, the coaching staff is there, the mechanics are there, the drivers are there, and they are practicing every day, understanding the track, developing the drivers for the track, training them, getting the setup right, getting them up to speed before the other teams are doing it. So obviously, the other teams have drivers who have driven the track before, and the other teams had the setup, but we always try to find, even if it's a tenth, we have to find it. So that's why we're there. We're always practicing, and that's where other teams or like other drivers say like, "How are you guys so much quicker?" Or
Mm. Hmm.
even if we're on like stock equipment, it's
Yeah.
because we're there practicing all the time.
Nothing beats hard work and
Exactly.
focused practice. You're right. And those hours, you're not just doing it freestyle, turning up. There'll obviously be objectives you're setting each time,
Yeah,
tracking
exactly.
performance.
And we don't, when we're there practicing, we don't take it as like a fun day. We do, like,
Yeah.
it is a fun day, but at the same time, more seat time, and we put the work. Like, the mechanics are there to work, coaching staff are there to work, if the driver of any of our drivers are there just micking about having fun, we're not gonna take that. Like, you know, we're putting the time and effort from our end. You're gonna put the time and effort as a driver. So yeah.
It's a nice way to round off. Before we do though,
Yeah.
it's important we talk about the unique round you guys have or have just completed at the Yas Marina circuit.
Yes.
Where you drove on the F1 track. There was a full race there.
Yeah.
How was that? And that's quite recent.
Yeah, it was actually 2 weekends ago. In terms of the team, we didn't do really well because we didn't have enough time to practice. We only had Friday, and then which rained on that day, so it was very difficult in terms of setup to get the setup for a dry race. And then we had Saturday, which was official practice. Obviously, the track conditions coming from a Friday to a Saturday completely changed, and a lot of our drivers had a lot of issues, especially of it being new to them. But yeah, overall, it's a fantastic sort of like experience for our drivers, and especially us as a team, being on an F1 track, racing on an F1 track. I don't believe it's the most skillful track.
Okay.
It's
very wide.
It's extremely wide.
Yeah.
There are some parts that if you do mess up, a lot of, the next sector or the next couple of 2-3 turns.
Yeah.
I think in front of that driver is an AK driver as well.
Okay.
So,
you can tell.
I can tell. So yeah, like it was fantastic, especially for the drivers. They loved it, going on the track walk, being there, being in a monumental, corner where Max Verstappen overtook
Exactly.
Lewis Hamilton for the World Championship. Even though I believe it was. I'm a Lewis fan, so yeah.
He's won 8 world titles as far as you're concerned.
Yeah, exactly, and number 9 hopefully soon.
We have to wrap up with asking, how do people inquire and join AK? What is the procedure?
It's very simple. You can always reach out to us on our Instagram page, which is AK Karting. I'm the one that is handling the page, so you get to speak to me directly. We do take beginners, but you will have to have at least some, idea of two-stroke karting. We don't really have to start the basics. We'd like to have you already there, so then we can start developing you to become more upfront with the other racers. So yeah, you can always talk to me. You can always learn what the packages are. You're going to definitely love the packages. We offer great packages, and we kick off for the next season. We have 2 more rounds here, and cross fingers for a junior championship. It's going to be tough, but it's racing. See what happens.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Allen. Thank you so much for your insights, your stories, and we hope that the viewers found this conversation beneficial. Those who have a good foundation in rental cars can look ahead to getting into some two-stroke karting now.
Correct.
Until next week at 12 p.m. GMT, we will see you for Race Talk over there. Take care, everyone.
Take care. Thank you very much.